We're live now. What up there, everybody? You're watching Speak Easy Podcast. It's your boy Easy. I'm here joined by MMA journalist, MMA veteran, James Lynch. How are you, man?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me on. Apologies to our audience right off the bat. My internet's a little shaky, so I'm on mobile data. If I disconnect, you know why, but just giving you the warning. But thanks for having me back on, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you and I originally did like a podcast, but it ended up being like me just like asking you a whole bunch of questions about like covering the sport because it's like something I tended to do. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do that, man.
No problem. Happy to do it.
So how are you feeling coming off this Anderson Silva last fight? Was it rough for you to watch it all? Like I guess knowing like what he once was, or is what it is, like we expected at this point?
No, I was actually surprised. I thought he looked pretty good leading up to the knockout. I mean, I don't want to see Anderson fight anymore. He's 45 years old. I don't really know what more he has to prove. I don't think it'll end very well for him if he continues to fight. But, I wasn't as bummed out as a lot of other people were because I just thought he looked pretty good in this fight. I mean, he definitely won a couple rounds of that fight. Leading into that third round, I thought things were looking good. But, eventually he ends up losing. His timing's just not what it used to be. His speed wasn't what it used to be. But I wasn't as bummed out. Like, it wasn't like watching like Chuck Liddell towards the tail end of his career get knocked out in the first round, right? Like Silva actually still can compete against even, top ranked middleweights and still hold his own. I know he got finished, but it wasn't like as bad as watching like him or BJ Penn or someone like that, right? So it felt like, obviously it sucks that Silva's not what he once was, but at the same time, I thought he did pretty well in that fight.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Because like the skill set's still there. It's just like it's in terms of, I guess, physically, and his chin's obviously gone a little bit too. But I mean, that's part of what happens when you're in a sport that long. I did have like a one question because obviously we know like other organizations, unless Dana White buys them out and like similar to what he did with Chuck Liddell, or obviously other organizations are going to reach out to Anderson Silva, and he does still have the skill set. If the spider gets on a little juice, a little TRT, you think we could see like a massive return, or maybe like once what he once was, if he goes like a one or like a Bellator or something?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, yeah, if he goes to like a Ryzen or one championship, yeah, absolutely. But I just don't see, like, I think people forget that Silva's still under contract. So it's this really weird spot where like Silva wants to still fight. I think people are like, I'd say people are divided. I'm of the camp of retire. I'll always be that way. There's people who still want to see him fight because he didn't look terrible in the fight against Uriah Hall. So what do? I don't think, like, I can't imagine the UFC is just going to let Anderson Silva go so he can fight in Bellator. I almost feel like they'll try and find a way to keep him, but make him not fight or something like that. But yeah, you're right. If he does go to like a Ryzen and there's no testing, this guy could probably fight forever.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of like sounded like that too, like the way Dana was speaking, because he's like, yeah, we still have him under one fight, we still have him like one last fight, and like, I don't know, man. That's just one guy. I really wouldn't want to see it under like another organization, just because he can help build the UFC. What do you think his biggest like contribution to the sport has been? Because he is such like an influential guy.
I think he is the face of the middleweight division. I mean, if you think about going back years before, it was Rich Franklin. And then even before that, the title was kind of passed around a bit. It wasn't really established. And I think what Silva's legacy will just be the guy who built the middleweight division, make it what it was. And, it's interesting, like, we have Israel Adesanya as the middleweight champion now. And I think that's sort of an ode to Silva, who fights very similarly to Silva in terms of his, striking ability and everything else. So I think Silva, this is what bothers me about fans. Fans will say, there's not many, not like Silva's not the worst example of this, but like you'll see fans now being like, oh, Silva sucks. He's not very good. He's lost all these fights. But like, those of us who watch Anderson Silva in his prime, remember watching him and being like, this guy's doing stuff that we've never seen before. That will always live on for me. And that will be my memory of him as just being this dominant force at middleweight. And like I said, putting that division on the map.
Yeah, because he has inspired guys like Israel Adesanya, right? Like and people who said like he was bad, like he went 3 rounds with the champ too. I don't want people ever to forget that.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, they do, man. It's like, come on, man. Shout out to BS3 tapping in. He says, "Yo, what's up, Ben? We're on with James Lynch, credentialed MMA journalist. I apologize if I didn't introduce him enough. This guy's the man, bro. This guy's been covering the sport for a while. If you guys haven't checked out his YouTube channel, Lynch on Sports, you started the fighter picks videos, man."
I did. Yeah. I mean, I started the remote ones. Like I started doing the pros picks where, I interview fighters like remotely and do the picks. I know there's a lot of other people doing them now, but I was the one who did them like years ago and consistently I was doing them every week. So, and even now I'm still doing them every week. So
yeah, like one of my favorite videos come out. I noticed a lot of people are jacking it, but I mean, they're fun to watch, right? But we touched on Adesanya a little bit. What do you make of the decision for him to go up to 205?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. And I got a lot of shit for this because I put a video out on Sunday just saying how, it impacts two divisions with him moving up. And like, I could see if he wanted to fight John Jones, where like, at least there's like that name value and there's bad blood there, but he's fighting Jan Blachowicz, who just won the title. Not only that, we got a fight coming up on Saturday between Thiago Santos and Glover Teixeira. Thiago Santos has a win over Jan Blachowicz. How do you think he's feeling going into this fight, knowing that even if he wins, he's not going to get to fight for the title next? Everything's going to be logjam because this fight's going to be taking place next month. You've got Jack Hermanson and Darren Till later this year. I've made the case for Hermanson. For whatever reason, people do not like Jack Hermanson, or they don't think he's any good, but, got the win over Jacare, has the win over Calvin Gastelum in his last fight. If he beats Darren Till, he beats 6-1 in his last 7 fights. How is he not deserving of his title shot? So the reason I don't like it is just because it is going to clog up the division. I know for a lot of Izzy fans, they want to see him become a double champ, but would you not want to see that, with him fighting Jones instead? I mean, it just, to me, it loses all luster with him fighting Blachowicz because there's going to be no, bad blood buildup. Blachowicz, pretty laid back guy. And, the fight itself will be great. I mean, Izzy's like a 2-1 favorite, but I think Jan could absolutely win that. But I just don't think this is the time to move up when he's only got 2 title defenses.
It's funny you speak on Jan being like a laid back guy, because like one of my most memorable impressions of him was DC was kind of critiquing like his speed, I guess, on the Hawani show. he goes on Twitter and calls DC a fat ass or something like that. I was like, Jan's a low key savage. But no, I like it, right? Because like at that point, if he wins, he's got to be the favorite, right? Like you can't dodge John Jones at that point. Like that fight's gonna happen. Not that we ever doubted it before. Obviously, all the trash talk on Twitter, but I don't know. I'm excited, but I'm also an Izzy fan. I'll have to admit, like he's fun to watch. He talks his shit. He builds up the fights. But I agree with what you're saying about Santos, though. It does kind of suck for him.
Like, imagine him, and why announce it now? Why could they not wait till after the fight? At least see how Santos does. If Glover had wins on Saturday, you could absolutely make that case and be like, well, Santos already lost. He's not going to fight. You could do Glover for the title, but I just think that the problem with this is it's not like you don't need to rush Adesanya back here. I know he wants to fight, but like, could we not wait and see how this other stuff, sort of unfolds a little bit? Can you not wait a month? Even the initial plan, according to Dana White, was Robert Whittaker. And even that I'm fine with. But, why are you rushing him to get back here? He just fought twice this year. He's got a kid on the way. Like, why are we rushing him into this fight when he talked about being as a champion, getting burnt out? Why are we, all of a sudden trying to force his hand here? So, look, I'll watch the fight. It's going to be a great fight itself. I just don't think the timing of it's very good. That's my only point here.
Yeah. Dane was kind of bullying Rob on that too. He said that he said he didn't want the fight, which is like a major twist of his words. Like I don't know how you would interpret that. I understand he's like more laid back and like I guess trying to get the fight or back to the title shot. He's not exactly in a rush, but like you said, he's got the baby coming on the way. It's an exciting division. Yeah, where do you stack middleweight in terms of like strength of divisions? Because me personally, I got bantamweight, lightweight, then middleweight, but I think a lot of people sleep on that division.
Yeah, middleweight's very good. Because I think on any given night, you've got, Cannonier, you've got Paulo Costa, you've got Jack Hermanson, who despite everyone not liking him, is very good. I mean, you don't just go out there and submit Calvin Gastelum in the first round like that. Like, that was very impressive. Darren Till's in the mix, Whittaker. It's a very deep division. Comparing to those other divisions, though, I mean, bantamweight and lightweight, I think, are the most stacked. And it's just, it happens every couple of years. You find a division that's dominant, one that isn't. I remember for years, even welterweight right now is still pretty stacked. You've got, Usman and Colby, and you've got Masvidal, and you've got Leon Edwards and Wonderboy Thompson, and now Chimaev entering the mix as well. So it's, I think every division sort of goes through these points. Even flyweight now is really exciting with, Perez fighting Figueroa, and now you've got Manuel Cape, who they signed. Like, it's just really cool right now to see all of the divisions sort of fluctuate in terms of talent.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned Jack Hermanson. I feel like he's for sure slept on. When I watched him dominate Jacare Sosa, I was like, what in the hell, bro? Like, this is like the top of the top jiu-jitsu guys, like, as far in terms of like black belt MMA guys go, and he's just like ground and pounding this guy, and he's not even like, he's from Sweden. That's like you don't think of grappling when you think of those guys, right? Or where's he from? I may be wrong on that.
Yeah, I think he's Norway. I think he's from he's
Norway.
Okay, Norwegian. But no, like, and it's an interesting style matchup because who's the last like ground guy that Adesanya's fought? No one really. I mean, no one's really like he never fought like a Damian Maia or anyone like that. So that's another reason why. But this is typical fans. Like, I don't want to go on a huge rant here, but like, people are so like, your last fight. Like, remember everyone calling Israel Adesanya boring after the Romero fight, and then he has an incredible fight against Costa, and then the fight before that, that. He had like a fight of the year against Calvin Gastelum. It's like fans are so dumb when it comes to recency bias. It's the same thing with Hermanson. People are like, well, yeah, Jared Cannonier knocked him out. But it's like, yeah, but then he also just destroyed Gastelum, and Gastelum nearly beat Adesanya. So it's like, why are we not like looking at the whole resume?
Too.
That's something that always sort of bothers me, that fans are quick to say, oh, well, it's like when people brought up when Gaethje was fighting Khabib, they're like, yeah, but Dustin Poirier beat Gaethje. But I was like, dude, that was like 3 years ago. And Gaethje's a much different fighter. Like, you can't just look on specific fights. Fighters do evolve, believe it or not. So that's like a huge issue I have, because fans are so quick to like look at things as black and white, but fighters do evolve. They do get better is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to my man Nevin. He says we are too spoiled as fans, and I agree. Since trying to cover the sport of MMA, man, it's a constant like news cycle. There's something new every single week, if not every day, with matchups being announced. It's a super exciting sport. We are spoiled.
Absolutely. Never a dull moment. It's like every moment I'm checking my phone, there's something new going on. So it's always keeping you stimulated as far as covering the sport.
1,000%, man. And we spoke on divisions a little bit, and I wanted to get your opinion just because it's kind of recent, and I don't want it to get overshadowed a little bit. Division-wise, I guess one of the most stagnant ones, and it drives me crazy, is the featherweight division. I've seen guys like Calvin Kattar work his way up to the summer, and I'm thinking he deserves like at least a number one contender shot, But then we see a guy like Brian Ortega, 2 years off, hop right in, catch a dub against Korean Zombie, and that next thing you know, he's fighting for a title. What do you think of Bryce Mitchell's, I guess, win over Touchy-Feely this past week? And do you think that catapults him into that mix a little bit, or do you think that division is still hard to crack the way?
I think I would consider Andre Fili at this point, and I mean no disrespect to this because I do like Andre Fili a lot, but I think Fili at this point in his career is kind of like a gatekeeper. Like, if you can beat Fili, then you're probably a good fighter in the division. If you can't beat Fili, then you probably have some more work to do, like a Charles Jourdain, for example. But Mitchell looked great, and credit to Fili. I mean, he had his moments in this fight. He definitely, it wasn't like a one-sided beatdown like Mitchell and Charles Rosa. It was a fight where Fili had, like I said, he had a pretty good second round. But overall, Mitchell's takedowns were too much. He's going to be a problem for a lot of people in that division. I would love to see him fight Dan Ige next. There's been some bad blood between them in the past, and I think Ige coming off the loss that he had, because I think, it wasn't really Dan's doing. It was his. It was not even his manager, the guy he works for, Ali Abdelaziz, did a whole thing about how Dan Ige would submit Mitchell and how Mitchell's ground game was overrated and all this stuff. And it went back and forth, and it looked like they were going to fight. And then I think Ige ended up fighting someone else. I think it was Bektik or someone. So there is some history there, and I think rankings wise, it would make sense. Because I consider Ige just a really, really good fighter in that division, coming off the loss to Cater, but still showed that he belongs there as far as the contenders. So I think if a Bryce Mitchell can go out there and beat a Dan Ige, then he absolutely is a contender. But I think right now he's sort of just above that gatekeeper spot where he's definitely good, but we don't know how good. So I think that's going to be part of it. And to kind of answer your other question about like the division being stacked, I mean, part of it is that Porza beat Magomed Sharipov. Like, every time they give him an opponent, so there's an injury, there's a switch up, so he's sort of a chip they haven't been able to use too much. And then you have Yair Rodriguez in there as well, who's been injured, and just a lot of just moving parts. It's just been a weird division in terms of not getting a lot of movement. I mean, Cater's been the only one who's really been like super active and picking up big wins. So that's where things have sort of slowed down a little bit.
Impressive too. Like, he's a Boston finisher for a reason, right? We see him go for these like cutthroat kills. Like, even at the end of the Ige fight, he came close to finishing him. It was a hell of a. I'm a fan of that guy. I'm definitely rooting for Ige. Not Ige. I'm sorry, Cater. Yes. Yeah. How do you feel about Ortega jumping right to a title shot after that?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm of the belief that if you're out for more than a year, you should be removed from the rankings. So, Ortega had been number 2 forever, despite absolutely getting dominated by Max Holloway. I don't have a problem with him fighting for the title, only because if Zombie had won, he would have got it. So in some ways, he takes that spotlight. And conversely, like, who really stands out at this point? Like, you almost can't give it to Cater just because of the fact he lost to Zabit last year, and Zabit, hasn't lost either. But saying that, Zabit hasn't got a finish and hasn't like looked amazing. So it's like tough for him to give him the shot, and he hasn't fought in a while. So if Ortega wants to fight, no big deal, because I just don't think there's any clear-cut contenders at the moment. However, if you wanted to run back that fight with Max Holloway, I'm fine with that too, because Holloway beat him decisively. Like, it was a one-sided beatdown. So I'm curious to see this new Ortega, how he would look against Max Holloway.
Yeah, and I think that's part of like the reasoning of me, like, kind of like, again, no disrespect to Brian Ortega. He came on, I think, Beauty and the Beast podcast. I didn't get to finish watching it, which you edit too, right? By the way, shouts out.
I produce? Well, kind of. Yeah, I don't produce it, but I do all the graphics and put everything together. Yeah, great interview, by the way. Go check that out. Ortega really opening up to Julian and Kendra Less. It was a great show. Yeah,
so I kind of want to see him go against like a Calvin Cater or something like that before I guess just like being given that title shot because the performance against Max wasn't stellar, and Max was so dominant in it.
But here's my response to that though. Who then fights Volkanovski? So Volkanovski's got to fight someone. Is it going to be Holloway? I don't know if. I mean, I'm kind of sick of him fighting Holloway. I almost feel like if they want to run that back, let's do it later down the line. I think we've Hollowayed ourselves out of that fight. And then other than that, who else is there? Right? You can't do Zabit. You can't do Rodriguez. Like who is there? Right? So that's where like if you do match Ortega up, then you better have someone ready for Volkanovski. That's sort of how I look at it.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, because you do have to match up Volkanovski with someone at that point. Yeah, that's true. Zabit and Ortega, you said that sounds like an intriguing matchup. I'd love to see that.
Oh yeah.
You spoke on guys sitting out over a year, and I guess speaking on them maybe being kicked out of the rankings at that point. What do you what's your take on this? What the hell, Chimaev and Leon Edwards.
Leon Edwards.
Yes, jumping right to the number 3 guy in the division.
So it's funny because like normally I would be against something like this because of the fact that like Chimaev's not ranked and he's fighting the number 3 guy, and it's like what's the point of even having the rankings? But the circumstances for this one are a little bit weird, right? Like Leon Edwards has a great winning streak, not like overly impressive, but he does have a long winning streak, not a lot of finishes, but still a decent winning streak. So he has a case here, but not a case for a title shot. It's the same thing with Colby. That was the whole thing with him, was that Colby was winning these fights, but he wasn't finishing his opponents. So they made him fight Robbie Lawler, and then he fought Usman. Well, Edwards hasn't had to do that, and his last win over Rafael Dos Anjos looks even worse now because Dos Anjos has lost since then. He's going back down to 155, so you can't really use that as a springboard to a title shot. So really, there's very few options for Leon Edwards at this point. It's Wonderboy Thompson, which apparently he didn't want, although I'm supposed to speak to him later this week. Curious to see if that actually was the case. There's Michael Chiesa, which I don't know if he's injured or what the deal is there as well. There's no incentive for Colby to fight him. I mean, you could, but I just think for both parties, that doesn't really do much. Gilbert Burns is going to get the next title shot, or should. He was given a title shot, and due to COVID, he wasn't able to get it. So really, his options are limited. And the one thing that Leon needs right now is hype, because he's colder than anyone in that division right now, despite his winning streak, because people sort of forgot his last fight was July 2019. So who better than to fight someone that has a lot of hype right now? In my opinion, the 2020 version of Jorge Masvidal in the sense of hype and everyone talking about them, and that's Khamzat Chimaev. So listen, like people talk about how Edwards gains nothing from this fight. I completely disagree. If he beats Chimaev, the guy that everyone thinks is going to be the next champion, he's the happening guy because he just beat Chimaev, right? And conversely, if he loses, yeah, it sucks, but like he's got to fight someone that has some hype. So yes, there's more risk. There's more of a risk reward factor for Leon Edwards taking this fight. But saying that, like if he beats Chimaev and a guy that he really should beat, if you look on paper who Edwards has fought, his experience, the fact that he's more established, Edwards should win this fight, and he is the betting favorite right now, I think, unless the line flip. But at the same time, like I actually think this makes some sense, and I actually suggested this even before this fight was booked because I said Leon needs some hype. Yeah, because I think
Chimaev?
Yeah, because who else is he going to fight? Like if he fought Chiesa, would anyone, even if he beat, let's say he fought Michael Chiesa, and let's say he beat Chiesa and he got a finish, is that going to get him a title shot? No. If he beats Wonderboy Thompson, is he going to get a title shot? Probably not. If he beats Chimaev, though, he has enough hype right now, and everyone's talking about him, that could propel him to a title shot. I really do believe that. Because if he's the guy that stopped this freight train, everyone's going to be talking about him, and we've seen time and time again, it's like Masvidal, right? If you get the attention of people, that can lead to bigger opportunities, like Masvidal getting like there's no way Masvidal should have got a title shot against Usman after beating Nate Diaz. You know what I mean? Like, so the same thing could happen here with Edwards, where he beats a guy that might not be ranked, but has all the hype. That's my theory. We'll see if that sticks.
No, that's a good point. You definitely need that hype because, like, I mean, I'm looking at the case of Colby, same guy, decision win, but he started running the mouth. He beats a guy, Robbie Lawler, who I believe was on like a 3 or 2 fight losing streak, and he gets a title shot. It's definitely more the hype because even Neil Magny dominates Robbie Lawler, and he barely cracked the top 10. Like, it's very frustrating, I guess, the way that these rankings work sometimes. Yeah, who does these rankings? Do you know?
Yeah, it's media members. So what they do is they give out like a list, and it's a bunch of media members, and then they take the average of it, and it's put together. And I think that's a conflict of interest, to be honest, if you're getting media to vote on it, because this is how the fights are being booked. What if a media member has a bias towards a particular fighter? Then like you're literally controlling how the fights go. I think they should do it as a mix of maybe a few media members, maybe a couple ex-fighters that don't have it. Well, no, then I guess you're going to have ties anyways. I don't know how you do it. Maybe they just do need to do a system, like however impressive you look or something, some data, some analytics in here and figure it out. But yeah, it's
media
tricky.
members then, because I think a couple weeks ago we even kind of like moved up, like out of the blue. And it was like, what the hell is going on here? Like,
No, and like there's a lot of stuff that I don't like about the rankings. Like I mentioned, if you're out for a year, you should be off the rankings. They should remember which spot you're in, but you should be removed because if guys are being active, they should get rewarded for that. And then the number two thing I don't like is like an example of like Frankie Edgar. If you take a fight in a different weight class, you should be removed from the other weight class. So Edgar, I know, was ranked at featherweight forever. We know he's not coming back up. Why is he still in there? It's like McGregor ranked at 170. Get him out of there. He had one fight against Cerrone. He should not be ranked as a welterweight. He should be ranked as a lightweight based off what he did even before that. But then even then, he's inactive, so he shouldn't even be in the rankings. So,
yeah, touching on, I agree 100%. And touching on lightweight a little bit, just because you brought it up, who do you see? Who do you think is going to be the? Yeah, maybe Khabib might come back. We're hearing that maybe a little bit too now. But
yeah, what a friggin' annoying thing that is. Like Dana White's now like, well, Khabib's still the champion, so it's like, well, what was that whole thing about him leaving? And until Khabib says he's coming back, I'm not going to buy any of that. I don't think Khabib's like, who is Khabib even going to fight at this point? Like the only fight that you could do that's like a fresh matchup, but it wouldn't even make sense now, is Charles Oliveira. He's got a good ground game, so that matchup itself would be interesting. But other than that, like, who's he going to fight? Like he's not going to fight Poirier again. He just beat Gaethje. The Ferguson fight, like, look, I'm a huge Tony Ferguson fan, but there's no way he deserves a title shot after losing the way he did in his last fight. If he had a close fight against Gaethje, fair enough, but he got absolutely dominated against Gaethje, so you can't do him either. There's Dan Hooker's coming off a loss. You know, it's just the options are limited, so I don't really see why you need Khabib to come back. But to answer your question, to figure this all out, you know, you just do a mix. You do Poirier McGregor, you do Ferguson Chandler, you do Hooker and someone else. I don't know. You do sort of like an unofficial tournament, and then you determine sort of who's going to be your champion. But I think, trust me, if the UFC has it their way, because they're not about the rankings, they're going to make Poirier and McGregor a vacant title fight, and they're going to try and get Conor McGregor back as champion as soon as possible. That's their number one plan, if Khabib is in fact retired.
No, 1,000%. Yeah, and that was like a big debate last week, right? Like who was the GOAT? And I know you didn't want to talk. You know, you kind of skid over it. And I agree, though. Like I think.
I'll talk about it here. I don't mind touching on the GOAT stuff. That's fine with me. So
for sure. I mean, we all know it's Khabib, right? Like Khabib's undisputed fucking GOAT, baby.
No, I think but see, the issue I have with Khabib is, yes, he never lost a fight. He never lost he lost maybe one round or something like that, and he was dominant and he didn't have any issues outside the cage. I get all that, and you can absolutely, if you want to say he's the GOAT, I don't have an issue with that. However, we can't gloss over the fact that he only had 4 title defenses. Like, had George St. Pierre had 4 title defenses and called it a career, maybe he doesn't have that close fight with Johnny Hendricks. Maybe he doesn't. And I realize that St. Pierre lost earlier in his career, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these fighters who compete for a long time in the division should be rewarded for that, as opposed to someone who just gets in and gets out. And let's also not forget that Khabib was only fighting like once a year at the last like tail end. Like, that's sort of the one knock of where I don't think you can decisively say that Khabib is the GOAT, just because, like I said, there's guys that like Jones and St. Pierre who've had longer reigns. Yes, Jones did PEDs. Yes, Jones had issues outside the cage. Yes, St. Pierre lost to Matt Hughes and Matt Serra. Like, I'm not overlooking those facts, but I don't think you can say confidently that Khabib, you know, should 100% be the number one GOAT. That's why you should do it by weight class. Habib's the GOAT at lightweight, no issue there. John Jones is the GOAT at light heavyweight, no issue there. George St. Pierre is the GOAT at welterweight. We can discuss that. That I'm willing to go, but just like I said, you could find little holes in every single GOAT argument, in my opinion. I feel like
Habib's, though, his holes are like the weakest arguments. Like the other thing too, because you've been covering it a long time. Like, who have we seen as dominant as Khabib in those fights against like top competition?
True, but there's 5 opponents in that list that are great, and then there's ones that you look at, like a Daryl Horcher, a Pat Healy, or Abel Trujillo, that you're like, can you really argue that against a guy like George St. Pierre, who even when he wasn't the champion was still beating guys like Sean Shirk and beating guys like Matt Hughes when Hughes didn't have the title? Like, these are things that we have to look at in terms of, and it's not Khabib's fault. He has to fight who he's given, but you do have to weigh that in the conversation. That's the big argument with Anderson Silva. There was a period where he was fighting Travis Lutter and Talis Latis and Nate Marquardt, guys that just would not, aren't like great competition. It's not his fault, but it's one of those things we do have to talk about.
Yeah, and that was God damn it, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, that was the argument DC made. DC made, because you only fight the guys who are in front of you, right? And then he said the difference is GSP got his first title fight 4 fights into the UFC, where Khabib kind of was like a boring guy, decision machine for a minute, and he had to work his way to a title by just truly dominating. So I think, for arguing in favor of Khabib, is like he could only fight who was in front of him, and whoever was in front of him, other than maybe Gleason Tebow, he fucking just outright dominated. Like, wasn't even like questionable,
Mm-hmm. Well,
But
yeah, I think the T-Bow fight actually was a little bit closer if you go back and watch it, but that's
oh, for
beside the
sure,
point.
yeah,
But I almost think that thing that DC said there actually helped St. Pierre's case, because was Khabib going to fight for a title 4 fights in? Would he have been ready to fight for a title 4 fights in? Let's say he had to fight whoever the champ was at the time, Benson Henderson, or I can't even remember. Would he have won that fight? Probably not. So if St. Pierre's only got a couple fights and he's fighting Hughes and he loses, would that have, like, did he even deserve that shot? Wasn't it just a case of the division where they wanted someone that to fight that soon? Like, that's another thing that we can bring in here, right? Like, for most fighters, they wouldn't get a title shot just a couple fights into their UFC career, whereas some guys it takes forever, and that can be good or bad. So that's another thing you got to weigh into this thing, right? That's why this whole there's a lot of intangibles here. That's all I'm pointing out.
yeah. So does James Lynch have a clear-cut GOAT, or do you go back and forth with it yourself?
I go by division. I think that's the safest way to do things. I think Khabib's the GOAT at lightweight. If you wanted to say he's the greatest, if you want to say he's the greatest of all time, sure, no issue there. But like I said, I could find holes in every GOAT argument.
For sure, yeah. So GOAT's definitely debatable, right? But pound for pound, that was the whole gripe with Jones to kind of like help bring up the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Is Khabib pound for pound for you? Like, for me personally, because pound for pound is like your most recent performances, right? It's based off recency, correct? So like, if we're looking at Jones's performance against Reyes versus like Khabib's against Gaethje, Poirier, Conor, like, he's got to be number one pound for pound, right?
Sure, no problem there. I think pound for pound and GOAT are kind of similar in the sense, because like when you talk about pound for pound, you usually, you go back in history. I guess if we're talking about pound for pound at this present moment, then yes, Khabib would be ahead of anyone. But I mean, even that's subjective. Like, I don't know if you saw the pound for pound list. Weili Zhang is ahead of Valentina. How does that make any sense?
Yeah,
Valentina has more title defenses. Valentina has better wins outside of winning the title. How is she behind Zhang? Is it because Zhang got a finish? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Valentina, I feel like, is like slept on. It's crazy to me.
Of course
like,
she is. She's not even headlining this card coming. How is Dave? No offense to Davis and Figueroa, but why is he headlining 255 when he's got one? He just won the title, and you've got Valentina who's on her I don't know how many title defenses. And look, I get that maybe that fight would view a little bit better, but not by much. Give Valentina the main event. That was a dumb move on the UFC's part.
Yeah, she's she's one of my favorite fighters to watch, and it's crazy because like, I'm not like a big fan of women's MMA just because how like it's still kind of in its infancy, right? Like, we still have women in the top 10 or top 5 who are like under 500 record wise, so like, but not under, but maybe like just there. But yeah, Valentina, then Dana White. I think they're talking about Nunez, because obviously we're looking for somebody to give Nunez a challenge, right? I feel like Valentina can do it, and he kind of just missed it. I think maybe he's just scared to I guess I mean, I don't know, man. I think that'd be an excellent fight to make.
Well, the problem with the Nunez thing is that Valentina's lost twice to her. That second fight was really close. I actually scored it for Valentina, but that is the biggest fight they can do right now. But yeah, Nunez is fighting Megan Anderson. Maybe after that they could figure it out, because I mean, flyweight's a mess right now. Now they've got Chukagian fighting Calvillo. Like, where does Lauren Murphy fit into all this? And then you've got Andrade as well. Like, is Andrade going to fight Murphy? Like, or is Andrade getting the shot next after Maya Shevchenko? Nobody knows. It's like the wild, wild west out there at flyweight. So I have no idea.
Yeah. And kudos to Murphy too. Like, obviously she's probably not watching my show, but I think her performance and the statement she made for herself was dope and super clutch, because she made a great case for herself, both in dominating her opponent and speaking on the facts that she's beating the most ranked people in her division. Like,
and good for her for speaking out. Like, I know she probably gets a lot of shit from fans, because fans are like just dumb like that. They never want to see, like, if anyone speaks up, they're always like wanting to argue with them. But good on her for stating her case, because I was beating that drum too. Like, Andrade, great win, don't get me wrong, and Chukagian was ranked very high, but Murphy has more wins in the division. Are we not going to reward that? Like, that it kind of goes back to the whole GOAT talk, where it's like, what are we just going to, like, can anyone just jump a division and get a win and they get a title shot? That doesn't make any sense. Like, that's why Calvillo, like, she didn't get the title shot, so why would Andrade after one win? Doesn't make any sense to me. Murphy, I know it's not a popular opinion. I know a lot of people, and look, I'd pick Valentina against Lauren Murphy, but it's not about that. It's about the principle that if you win fights in your division and you have a winning streak, you should be rewarded for that. You should not be put to the back of the line because a strawweight decides to come up and take a fight at 125.
Yeah, in the words of Habib, I deserve this. She deserves this.
Exactly.
But you glossed over this a little bit earlier. It made me question, because you were kind of like on the inside. What was the holdup with the welterweight championship fight with Usman and Gilbert Burns? Is it money? Is it contract? Like, What
No.
happened? That
Usman's
broke
injured.
apart.
That's why he
Oh,
he
okay.
can't fight right now. So that's going to wait till next year. I think Burns is going to wait. I mean, also let's call it what it is. They have the same manager, right? So Burns and
Mm.
Usman have the same manager. So they'll make that the next fight. Colby unfortunately is going to have to take another fight, but I think they got to do. They're talking about doing tough again in March. Do Colby and George as the coaches. There's your coaches.
Oh my God, that was genius.
I know,
You gotta
and
text Dana.
and the best part is it does not affect the division at all. If anything, like there's a grudge match right there. People love a good pro wrestling storyline. There's your grudge match right there. And it's the type of fight, even though stylistically that's not a good fight for Masvidal, it's still a great
Yeah.
fight because Colby's that guy that will push you over the edge viewership wise. That's why people are like, I can't believe Leon Edwards didn't fight Masvidal. Why would Masvidal fight Edwards? It's a bad matchup for him, and there's no pop in Edwards. Like I said, he's cold. He's cold as ice right now. Colby, on the other hand, is still popular than ever. The Trump stuff, whatever. He's still on people's minds. People love the guy or they hate him. You don't get that with Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards is just kind of in the middle. So that's why Masvidal Covington's got to happen next, and they got to do it as the tough coaches. That would be tremendous.
That would be, yeah, that'd be amazing. That's the only one that makes sense. I couldn't, like, when they played the promo for it. First, I was kind of like irritated, like, yeah, we knew this was coming, right? And I was kind of upset they didn't announce coaches, but like, and then I was trying to think, well, yeah, who could be coaches? That's perfect. That's a perfect match right there. And I was kind of like, I wasn't as high on Covington, and not so much hate, because I can watch a fight and not like a guy, but still enjoy watching him fight, right? And like, but those kicks he was throwing in that Tyron Woodley fight, he's actually like getting better. It's kind of scary.
He's a
for the
good
guys
fighter.
to hate
It's
on him.
unfortunate that it's his own self doing. Like Colby made a lot of dumb comments after the fight and all that you shouldn't say. And it's unfortunate because they should be talking about how good that win was. Like he finished Woodley. Yes, Woodley got injured, but it was Covington putting the pressure on. Woodley was not in that fight at all. And I know Woodley isn't the same Woodley as a couple of years ago, but that was a great performance. And I feel like people don't give Colby enough credit for how good of a fighter he is. It's like this whole revisionist history about the Usman fight. Oh, Colby got destroyed. No, he didn't. It was a close fight heading into that 5th round. Usman finished him. Yeah, fair enough. All that, but like this idea that it wasn't even close. Like, guys, you're not watching the right fighter. You're that blinded by your hate for Colby that you're not looking at him as a fighter. It's like Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy looked great on the weekend. People are talking about, how he's playing the victim or whatever. I don't know. That was sort of the thing I read. You don't have to like Greg Hardy the person.
What happened? I see he was
well, no,
tearing
like
up.
people, I saw, yeah, someone was saying that like I don't know, I guess I didn't see the full thing, but I saw some people complaining that like Hardy's trying to make himself out as a victim because people are still talking about the domestic violence thing. But look, dude, you made your bed, you got to live it. That's, I agree with the media there, but at the same time, like
happened, right?
people not looking like Hardy would be a huge star in the UFC right now if it weren't for this personal stuff. Because could you imagine a fighter from any other sport coming over that was actually well known in Greg Hardy and actually doing well in the UFC? Like people forget he lost a Crowder. We can forget about that. That was a DQ. But he lost to Volkov, who's actually a pretty good heavyweight. Like he's looked pretty good.
Yeah, man. Like when he survived that, or just I guess looked better than I expected, because I think of Volkov very highly because he's a freaking
Volkov finished Walt Harris. He did not finish Greg Hardy. Like that's something to consider.
1,000%. To be as least like skilled as he is and to come in there and survive it, I think it goes to show like I guess how great of an athlete he is too. Like how I guess being a great athlete can transition to MMA for guys. But damn, I was gonna ask you one more question, but I know you're waiting on Nathan. Nathan's doing a show.
No worries,
do you want me to see if he wants to join us?
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
it's kind of my boy. I'll shoot him a message real quick. Yeah, Greg Hardy. I was really impressed with that. Yeah, yes. Trying. Hey, man, I'm trying to be everything like you. You're killing it.
I'm doing what I can. Trying to pay the bills.
Yeah, man, I can't believe like you do all that you do, and you still have time to edit the Beauty and the Beast too.
Yeah, it's I have to really structure my schedule like in a way where I can do it. And thank God for my wife who's like very patient about this stuff. So I just, I make my hours accordingly so I can have time to do all this stuff. But yeah, so
that definitely plays a key factor in like managing all this is the wife, because I have that situation too with my son too.
Yeah,
so it's like happy wife, happy life is a real life thing.
Well, I just make sure there's a certain point where I'm not like, I'm not doing any work. Like the phone's off or phone's not near me, and I'm actually being engaged because like I don't want my son to miss out on fatherhood because I was worried about a John Jones breaking news story or something. You know what I mean? Like I want to still have a regular life outside of this. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that does he look bad at all moving up to 205 now that John's gone? Like, is that like
No, I think you know what, like Izzy just wants to propel that superstardom even more. Like I get him doing it. Like I'm not like dumb or oblivious to that. I just think that like you're fighting Jan, like it just doesn't have the same appeal that a Jones fight would. You know what I mean? And maybe this is a way to try and get Jones to come back to 205, but I mean, I think Jones is pretty set on going to heavyweight. There's just way more matchups for him. Because even if Jones does fight Adesanya, then what? Who's he going to fight at light heavyweight? There's no like appealing matchups that are going to be like big drawing power as opposed to him fighting like a Francis or Stipe or anyone at heavyweight. Heavyweight's a much better division for that, for marquee fights.
Yeah, we had a GOAT debate last week. We had Kama Worthy on, and he's like, he said speaking of Jones not ready for heavyweight. He's talking about him taking a calf hit because he has those chicken legs he's known for. I was like, that's a good point. I don't know how those legs like survive a kick from like I don't know, 60-pound legs up there, man. Nathan's not responding to me, man. I don't know if he's in Zoom or what. So, I guess we can wrap this up because I don't want to hold him up too much. But I really appreciate you coming on, man, and I'd love to do this again sometime.
Always, yeah. No, I appreciate you taking the time. My connection seemed like it was okay. Was it shaky on your end? How are things?
So at the end, it came through. At the end, you got prettier.
Oh, good. Okay. So yeah, I don't know if my internet's still out, but doing the best I can here. But no, thank you for having me on. Always enjoy talking fights with you. Keep up the great work. I'm always checking out your stuff. Saw the Nadia Kasim interview. That was great.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man. So appreciate it. Lynch on Sports, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. That's where you can find me. I'm everywhere. So you should be able to find me. So there you go.
Sure.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Check it out. Yeah, everybody, make sure you stay tuned. You get Stephen Thompson coming on. Is that this week that's dropping, or you just doing an interview?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I got a bunch of interviews coming up this week. Don't want to announce all of them yet, but Thompson is one that I will get. That's confirmed. So I have a couple other big names this week too. So stay tuned. That's a little teaser. That's what we call in this industry. So there you go.
Cool.
All right, buddy. Don't want to get anyone upset. So I'll see myself out here. But thanks again, man. Keep up.
For sure, man. Hey guys, that was James Lynch from Lynch on Sports. I was trying to call. Oh my God, now Nathan's calling me. Jesus, Nathan, we're live right now. Say what up.
All right, send me the link.
You sent a link? He just left. So I'm going to do a group chat maybe with both you guys right now then. And then with the link. Or you know what, man? He just wrapped it up. I might just let you do your thing because he just left.
Okay, no, send it. We'll do a group thing.
You sure?
We'll do a group. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll send you the link and you just send it to him since he's waiting on you anyway. Is that cool?
To his Instagram or email? Which one?
I could email yours because you that's how you do it, right? You like the links through email, and we're live right now too. So shout out to everybody who's staying tuned through the what do you call this backstage process of this? What's your email? Do you want me to put me on mute? Do you want your email broadcasted? Here, I'll put myself on mute real quick for this part.
Let me. You know my email, right?
No, I do not.
It's net.yankees@gmail.com.
All right, hold on 1 second, because actually I'm just gonna go back to our conversation because I forgot I could do that. Actually, message to me on Instagram. You can do it without closing out the video call if you don't want to.
Okay.
Fuck. Sorry, that way I could just type it in. Is anybody still watching too? Let's see. Check it out. We still got 3 people watching. What's up? We are MMA. What up, though, man? You know what's so funny is a lot of people. Well, maybe it is pronounced where. I'm not sure. You gotta clarify that, man. Hey, where if you want to join too, man, I'll send you a link. I don't have a problem at all. So you're loyal New York wise to the Yankees, but you're a Cowboys fan. You dirty dog, you Nathan. All right, Nathan, I just sent you the link, man. I'm gonna hang up. All right. We are MMA. Hold on 1 second. Copy the clipboard. Boom. Boom. Yeah, if you guys like MMA content, what up though, Nevin? Nevin, what's up, man? You slacking, man? I got camo because I knew people like you like to hunt, they like to fish. We got the camo hoodies at SpeakeasySports.com. You slacking, man? Matter of fact, let me put this motherfucker on. Let me put this shit on. Guys, if this happens, I'm gonna go back to. If it doesn't happen, I'm gonna go back to work. We're doing a presidential thing tonight. We're gonna be doing election madness. Your boy Eazy is gonna be moderating a left-right reaction to the elections live tonight. If anybody's listening too, tap in. Like, what should we be sipping on? What should we be sipping on in this during this election? I got a full. So my man Nevin says you got me right now. Shouts out to you, man. I got the full camo too for you, Nevin. Shouts out to you. But yeah, guys, if you guys are in the comment section right now, hit me with some questions, man. MMA, basketball, football, whatever you want. Nathan's about to come on shortly, I do believe. If not, he's going to be on with James Lynch. I don't know if his is going to be live. His maybe just be through Zoom or Instagram or something like that. But I don't know where I was going with that. I was kind of just rambling, guys. Football, basketball, yeah. Oh, I should tell you, he had an interview with if you guys are football guys, interview with Jeff Garcia. Not everybody, you may not know Jeff Garcia unless you're like a hardcore, but you know how it be. We know how it be. What up, though, Ghost Nate? Can you join? Let me ask these guys. I'm not so sure. Maybe we'll do something another time too, but I'll see if we get you joined. MMA explicit. I'm gonna check that out. Keep up the good work, man. Sorry, guys. I'm reading stuff on as we're going. I'm gonna get a group chat going with James and Nathan real quick because if not, I do have to go back to work. So let me see what's going on with that. And the NR hour. What is Nathan's Instagram? Right. Let's see. But shouts out to Jeff Garcia. Yeah, Jeff Garcia, and Jeff Garcia kind of went off, man. He was. I'll see if I get the clip. I'll ask Nathan if I could post it on our YouTube. It's pretty funny. Hey, fellas, if you guys want to do this, but if not, let me know because. All right, Ghost Nate in the building, Gioing off. What I tell you, man, I told you guys to start Giovanni Bernard. If you guys are new here, make sure you tap in every Saturday. I mean, I'm gonna start doing it Wednesday too. Every Saturday, Wednesdays, we do the fantasy shows. Not a bad Lions QB. Jeff Garcia was not a bad Lions QB, not at all. Just never again. If we are going there, our man Sean Hill needs to be in the talks for like best backup QBs or best backup Lions QBs. Best backup QBs all time, actually, yeah. Sean Hill's definitely in the conversation, man.
Yeah.
What up, though, Nathan? We were actually just talking about you having Jeff Garcia on.
Oh yeah, so I asked him about the Cam Newton situation too. So remember when he?
Yeah, I saw that, man. I was gonna say I got to. You care if I clip that and put it on the speakeasy?
Oh yeah, do that. Take it. I want that specific. Everybody thought it was a racial issue. It's not a racial issue. I get where he's coming from, actually.
Yeah, then so speaking of backup quarterbacks, my man Nevin tapped in. He said if we're going there, our man Sean Hill needs to be in the talks. So we're talking, I guess, greatest backup quarterbacks. Sean Hill actually is definitely.
All right, I'll send James the link or no? Or
I just sent it to him. You can send it too, though, if you want. Scott wasn't the greatest though. Scott. Who's he referring to?
Yeah,
oh, yeah, man. Were you gonna say nothing?
Are you gonna take the clip from my YouTube account or?
Yeah, probably just
like
yeah, or I can see if Mike can make you manager on ours and maybe upload it and I'll just clip it up. We'll figure something out. No namers. Yeah, Boston Scott, man, that was one. I'll tell you what though, I truthfully didn't give too much of a
Boston Scott. 2 words, Boston Scott.
Yeah, but these guys had a fantasy football show on Wednesday on BS3, I believe. And you guys were hyping up Boston Scott all night. So I finally hopped on the train like, yeah, you're right. The Cowboys do suck. Yeah, he did score against the Giants. So I kind of hopped on that train, guys, and I apologize. I'll try to avert from that again. I'll stick to my guns, and if I'll go down blazing with my own opinions. To stop losing with the others, going down the sinking ships. You know who did go off though, Nate, was Ayuk.
Yeah,
Ayuk came through. How about they're comparing him Calvin, man. I'm a Detroit guy, so I don't know if I like that too much. But our guy DK Metcalf, man.
Yeah, he went off too.
12 receptions, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are Calvin numbers. That's undeniable. Eagles D was
today's 2 big things: election and then the NFL trade deadline too at 4. So,
that's today. The trade deadline. Oh yeah, okay. I thought it was Thursday for some reason.
Hopefully some big trades happen today. I don't know. My Cowboys will be sellers, I think, obviously. So
yeah.
But your Lions, I think your Lions should be buyers. You guys have a chance. Your Lions.
I feel like it's truly there, right? And I'm going to reintroduce the man of the hour, maybe 2 hours at this point, James Lynch, Lynch on Sports.
What's up, guys? Little deja vu here. I feel like this is Groundhog Day again. I'm Bill Murray.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, I had an interview with James Lynch earlier. Obviously, some of you guys are still here watching, but James had an interview with Nathan shortly after myself, and I kind of hijacked that all. It's all three of us now because we're conversating.
Yeah. What's up, James? How you doing?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me on. Thank you both for having me on.
Yeah. So, people, you take asking football questions, but first of all, thanks for joining our podcast. Obviously, I'm from the NR Hour Sports Podcast Show, and he's from Speak Easy, like obviously. But I just want to say thank you, and you do great stuff covering the UFC, MMA, and I had a lot of UFC people on my show already, and I'm over 584 episodes. Keep killing it, and
Oh, sorry. Am I the only one who's got a bad connection here? Might be
no,
might be on my end. Man. I'm using mobile data.
Oh, he's frozen.
So it's not me. So
not
you're good on your end, man. Okay,
I'm good on my end.
Just making sure it wasn't me because I know our connection last time worked fine. I think it's him. He's frozen right now.
Maybe add him back and see if this works. Oh no.
No worries.
He'll come back. Yeah, no, Nathan, bro. Nathan got freaking Frankie Edgar on his podcast. Yeah, Frankie Edgar. He got
I saw that.
He got Isaiah Thomas from basketball from NBA, which I was jealous of because I'm a Detroiter. I'm like, bro, what the hell's going on here? All right, so maybe he gets reconnected. Hey, Dan, is your website up? Yes, the website is up. It's speakeasysports.com. Truly proud of that, man, because I did it all myself. Shouts out to my fiance helping out with the hoodies. And we got Nathan rejoining us here. Hopefully, we'll see. I'm waiting to see pops on the screen. But yeah, that's up, guys. Speakeasysports.com. Get your latest merch, get your jackets, get your hoodies. And you got some merch coming too, right? I know you're waiting on your designers, you said, on a couple of your live streams.
Yeah, I'm. You're breaking up for me. I don't know. Maybe you want to add me back in. I'm not sure what's going on here because everything looks good on my end, but on your end, you're doing. Yeah, we'll see. Let's see what we got here. Can you hear and hear me? Can you hear and see me now?
I can hear you well. Yeah.
You're coming in like you're underwater or something. But yeah, just let me know what you're going to ask me. Maybe you can just type it in the chat here and I can answer. That might be easier.
Okay.
If you can in the private chat because you're coming in a little.
Oh, sorry, my Wi-Fi is like.
You're good. He was just talking. I didn't kick him, and he just I don't know what just happened there.
My Wi-Fi is crazy this whole week for some reason.
Shouts out to everybody who's tuning on this debacle live right now. Check out what happened with your Wi-Fi, Nathan?
What happened?
You said something about your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we've been having trouble with the Wi-Fi for some reason. We lost power again yesterday.
Damn, dude. Yeah, actually, I saw that. What happened during one of ours, didn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, James was having issues too. He just bounced out though. Comment him real quick. We're back. Yeah, sorry guys. Oh, here he goes. Here he comes, James Lynch.
Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi has been crazy this whole week. So
it's the Illuminati on election night.
Two of us. I've lived here for like 2 years. I've never had an internet outage until today, so it's been crazy.
But what's up, Nathan? You were in the middle. I think you're gonna ask James a question, or
yeah. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
All right. Yeah. No, I was. This is a question I always start off with all my guests. How are you and your family doing during this whole situation?
Did you get that question? I didn't get that question.
He asked how your family's doing during the whole COVID situation. Oh,
let me see here. Sorry, guys. I'm not.
Okay, guys.
No worries. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, you can hear? Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't.
Yeah, I can hear now. So what were you saying? Sorry, my bad. It's just the connection's a little shaky.
Oh no. No, this is a question I always start off with my guests. How are you and your family doing during this tough situation?
Oh, there we go. We're doing great. Thanks for asking. No complaints. My wife's working from home. I always work from home. So pandemic hasn't really affected me that much at all because a lot of the work I do is at home and not remote. The only thing is I can't go to the States right now because it's not considered like essential work for me to go cover MMA. But other than that, things are great. No complaints.
So my first question to you, the second question, when did you get interested in covering MMA and UFC, and who was your biggest influencer in that?
So it was right around when I was going to university. This was like 2005, 2004. I got into watching The Ultimate Fighter, and then I just became like a really big fan. And then fast forward a few years later, because I was already taking like television broadcasting in college. And then, I just got into like interviewing fighters on the side on top of my day job. And then from there, it led to me working at Fight Network and a bunch of other places. And then, just going full time as a freelancer back in October of 2017. So I've been doing that basically ever since. And it's been awesome. I love it. I'm super, super lucky to be doing this.
Yeah. So obviously I said earlier that I had a lot of UFC people on my show. And what's it like? Obviously, this generation is all about connecting and networking with a lot of people. For you and your business, what's it like connecting with all these other UFC reporters and even UFC fighters and former UFC fighters? What's it like just connecting with them and getting to learn their own personalities and where they came from?
Yeah, it's great. The coolest part of it is that I get to, interview all different types of people, and you learn something from everyone. I mean, from like an amateur fighter to like interviewing like a UFC champion. So it's been really cool to like, get to meet people there. And then as far as the media goes, like I'm friends with a lot of people in the media. These are people I hang out with at events. They're good friends of mine, people I talk to on the regular. So it's been really like rewarding to get to meet all these different people that have the same interest I do, which is, watching and covering fights. So it's been really cool.
Okay. Yeah, so obviously we're all living in a tough world, and for you being an MMA analyst, how weird is it not the different circumstances with no fans and UFC stadiums, and obviously these fighters, sometimes some of these fighters feed off the fans, but some of these fighters just focus on the fight. But how weird is it just to see no fans in there, and how of a great job that Joe Rogan is doing with all this and Dana White?
I don't think it's that big of a deal because Ultimate Fighter didn't really have much of a crowd. Contender Series doesn't have much of a crowd. So I haven't really noticed it, to be honest. I mean, yeah, we're missing out on a lot of big moments like Khabib winning, no crowd for that. Just these big, moments that we're missing out on without the crowd reaction. But outside of that, I haven't really noticed it that much. If anything, I think it's a little bit cool because you can hear, the fighters in the cage a little bit better. You can hear the corners. So there's that part of it too that's kind of neat. But yeah, I mean, I do miss having the fans, but it hasn't been like a huge difference for me anyways, compared to some other sports, that's for sure.
You know what I was thinking when you said that, James? I apologize. How like nasty would it have been to hear the Ben Askren knockout with no fans? Yeah. That just
I know that'd be crazy, right?
Like experience. Yeah.
Thank God we got to see fans for that.
Yeah, for sure.
That was yeah, but
I was in the media room for that. I was in Vegas for that fight. So I just remember being in the media room because we have to basically, if you're doing interviews, you have to stay in the back. You don't usually sit out cage side. So I was in the back and I remember watching that knockout and everyone sort of looked at each other like, holy crap, I can't believe this just happened. That was cool. Those are memories like that I'll always remember. So
did you, obviously you didn't go to Abu Dhabi, right? To cover those fights?
No, like since the pandemic, I can't leave the country basically. So.
Okay. Yeah. So what was it like just covering the fights at Abu Dhabi from your house and obviously from Canada? But what was it like covering the fights from there and seeing the way they to see where they went in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, I mean, not much of a difference because like I interview fighters from all over the world anyway. So it's not like other than the time change, it's not really much like new for me because I have to deal with that all the time. I'm interviewing fighters from all over the place. So it's nothing's really changed because like I've been doing remote interviews for a while, like over Skype and FaceTime and everything else. So it's been pretty business as usual for me. Yeah, nothing really new.
Yeah, so I want to get to last week's fight with Khabib, his last fight, and then also Greg Hardy. What was your overall thoughts on that? And obviously, Khabib is, in my opinion, the GOAT, and he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. And what are your thoughts on his career? And what are your overall thoughts on his career and the fights from last week?
Yeah, so starting with Habib, great performance, absolutely no issue with calling him the GOAT. I mean, we had the whole GOAT discussion on the last show, just talking about some of the intangibles, but no, Habib very dominant. What a way to go out. And I hope he does stay retired, because it's very rare to see someone go out on top at such a high level, and I think it would be cool for him to do that. The story 9 times out of 10 in MMA is a guy who's, losing badly and getting knocked out, like a Chuck Liddell, right? You don't want to see that happen to a Habib. So I thought that was great. And I also like the fact that it's going to open up the lightweight division a little bit more. So that was good. As far as last weekend, Anderson Silva, I actually thought he looked pretty good leading up to the knockout. I still don't want to see him fight anymore, because I think you are putting him at risk for getting a stoppage loss in that one. But yeah, it was cool to see. But I think, Anderson should just call it quits now. It's 45 years old. He might get a win or two against someone else, but why risk it? Let him go off into the sunset and go that route. And Greg Hardy, I thought, looked great. I was saying earlier that I think he'd be a bigger star if he didn't have such a troubled past. An NFL player making the transition to the UFC, a well-known NFL player too, and having this much success, like this would be a much bigger deal if it was anyone else. So yeah, Hardy I've been very impressed with as a fighter.
So in Anderson Silva's case, does he want to still fight in his own with his team, and has he discussed anything with reporters yet on his next fight or the future?
Yeah, I mean, he still wants to fight. Dana White does not want him to fight. The big issue here is that Anderson Silva is still under contract. So this idea that he's going to go over to Bellator or Ryzen, he would need a UFC release. And I don't know if the UFC will give that to him, because I don't think they want to see him fight anymore. So we'll see what happens. Things could get interesting over the next couple months. But Silva's clearly proved that he can hang with some of the fighters in the division. Like if you wanted to do him and Chris Weidman, I don't think that's going to be a fight where he's going to look terrible. But at the same time, like, what's he really accomplishing at this point? Like, it's like Michael Jordan when he played for the Wizards. Like, just leave it as is. I'll always remember Jordan from the Bulls, not Jordan from the Wizards. Why do we need to remember Anderson Silva in his 40s than Anderson Silva who took Rich Franklin's head off twice, right? So that's what I'd rather look back on.
Yeah. So I want to get to another GOAT, in my opinion. I interviewed him, Frankie Edgar. He's from our area in Tom's River. And how many fights do you think he has left? I feel like he can go forever, the way he keeps his body conditioned and he's healthy, obviously. So how many more fights do you think you see in him in his career?
Oh, he's got a lot left. I mean, I don't think he beat Pedro Munoz. I thought it was a very close fight, but nonetheless, they're going to talk about that being a win, and I think he's right up there. I mean, don't be surprised if Edgar ends up fighting the winner of Sterling and Jan here, or getting some sort of marquee fight after this, whether it's like a Corey Sandhagen. He's got lots left. I mean, he showed at bantamweight that he can still compete at a high level. So yeah, Edgar's one of those guys, even though he's a little bit older, and certainly took some beatings at featherweight, particularly the knockout losses to Korean Zombie and to Brian Ortega. But in general, he's got a lot left, I think, at bantamweight, even though that division is pretty stacked. He's a big name. He can use that as leverage. I think he's got a lot left in him, especially with how he looked in his last fight against Pedro Munoz.
So what top young UFC fighters in the men's side and what top young UFC fighters in the women's side should UFC fans be looking out for in the future here?
Well, I think on the men's side, there's a lot of them. Bryce Mitchell, who got a big win last weekend, is obviously someone to keep an eye on, looked very dominant. I think Grant Dawson's another guy in that division that people forget about how good he's looked overall. And then obviously on the women's side, you've got Amanda Ribas, who I don't know if you guys saw, is going to be fighting Michelle Watterson coming up here. So that's a big fight for her. Yeah, Jillian Robertson is still very young as well. She's continuing to look quite well, especially with her ground game. She's another one. And I also, Macy Barber, I think, people are really quick to write her off after that last fight. She's only 21. Like, I don't know what people were doing when they were 21, but it certainly wasn't, achieving greatness. So yeah, she didn't look great in that last fight. She's got an injury she's coming off of. We'll see how that affects her. But I think Macy's still one that I would keep an eye on as well, because you can see the talent levels there. It's just a matter of her, making the right decisions with the matchmaking and in her training and everything. So we'll see what happens there. But those are some picks of mine that would be fighters to keep an eye on in the UFC.
I might be a little delayed, guys. I'm sorry, because we're talking about Frankie Edgar now. He's in the bantamweight division. What do you make of TJ Dillashaw and his return? Is you think that'd be a good matchup for him?
Well, I think kind of cut off there, but I think you're asking me about what's next for Dillashaw. He's another guy that they could put back in a title shot, but the problem is, like, he got busted for PEDs, so I think that's a tough sell. I know John Jones came back when he was, obviously suspended for PEDs, and they let him fight for a title, but I think with Dillashaw, because bantamweight's so deep, they might give him like maybe a rematch against Cruz or something instead. But I think Dillashaw will get a big fight. I don't know if it'll be for the title, but he will get a marquee matchup when he comes back. I have no doubt about that.
So I want to ask you about Amanda Nunez, obviously another GOAT in the women's side. So what has she meant to the UFC game? And obviously she works hard every day, and I still see more fights in her too. But what is your thoughts on her career so far? And obviously one of the best, in my opinion.
Well, I wonder how much is left for her. You know, she just became, a parent. Obviously, her wife Nina Ansaroff giving birth. So, and she's not getting any younger. And really, outside of Megan Anderson at featherweight, like there's no one else at featherweight for her. I can't even name any featherweights. No one can, because there's like 4 in the division, and she's beat most of them. So there's that. And then at bantamweight, like there's no clear-cut contender. Like had Juliana Pena beat Doreen Durandamy, she might have been an option, but she lost. Durandamy won, Holly Holm won. She just fought both of them last year. So it's kind of a situation where, who's she going to fight? There's Valentina out there as well. That's a fight I'd like to see, but I don't know how much longer Nunez is going to fight, because really what marquee matchups are there for her outside of maybe fighting Valentina? So we'd have to sort of see what happens there and gauge that in terms of, what's next, so to speak. So yeah, that's what I think about Nunez.
So my next question here, do you see, hopefully by next year, everything goes back to normal, but what do you see? Do you see UFC for next year continuing with the bubble or going back to normal if the guidelines speak true of next year?
Sorry, you cut off a bit there. What were you saying?
I was talking about next year's plans for UFC. If do you think they will continue the bubble situation or stick with one area where obviously they're back in Vegas, but for next year, what do you think they will do?
I think they're going to do the same thing until they can get crowds in. I think that's, and we'll obviously keep an eye on the pandemic, but I think until they get crowds, things are going to be a little bit tricky for them to try, because things are working now. Why change that? I think you're going to see Vegas and Abu Dhabi as still the hubs until we get more information on the COVID stuff in terms of an audience being back and booking bigger fights and things of that nature. So
I got to ask you this. What was your most memorable fight that you covered and most memorable interview you've done in your career?
Most memorable card, UFC 196, when Diaz beat McGregor and Holly Holm lost to Miesha Tate. That by far, I don't think I'll ever get a duplicate of that. And best interview I've ever done. It was brief. It was very short. I wouldn't even call it an interview. It was just maybe a little exchange. But Floyd Mayweather, I got to talk to him on the red carpet when they did the Maymac tour in Toronto a couple years ago. So that will be up there for sure. But if you want an in-depth interview, it's got to be Gegard Mousasi. That guy's my favorite fighter. I've done a number of interviews with him since. He's the best. So he will always be my number one choice. But in terms of name value, it's got to be Mayweather.
Were you surprised that Cyborg demoted herself to Bellator?
Well, shouldn't say demoted.
I mean, not demoted.
Damn, Nathan.
Sorry.
No. She look, they couldn't come to terms with the UFC. I mean, I see both sides of it. I think, and full disclosure, I do host a show every week with Chris Cyborg, so try not to be biased here. But I see both sides of it. It obviously wasn't working on the UFC's end what they were trying to do with Cyborg, and conversely, Cyborg was kind of treated pretty badly by the promotion as well, in terms of strong arming her to fight and all this. So yeah. I think it's a better fit in Bellator. Cyborg's the draw. It's not the promotion itself, right? They're building fights around her. So that's sort of where I look at, what it is. And I think it's just a better fit for her. They have better featherweights in that division for Bellator anyhow. It's more of an established division. So I think Cyborg being in Bellator makes a lot of sense. And plus you can do the cross promotion with Ryzen if they choose to. And that's more appealing to Cyborg anyway. So I think it's been a good fit. The UFC is missing Chris Cyborg, whether they want to admit it or not. They're missing out on one of the biggest rematches they could have done in women's MMA history. And that's why you're seeing Nunez fight Megan Anderson, who's not ready, but she's fighting her because there's no Cyborg. So what threat is there to her at 145? There isn't one. So that's why she's going over there. But hate to cut you guys off. I got to go and do an interview right now. Okay. We'll definitely do this again, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah, at Lynch on Sports, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, easiest way to get a hold of me. And I hope you guys have a great day. I will talk to you guys.
Yeah, you too. That was good.
It was dope. I agree with them about the.
All right, I should not have said demoted. That's my fault.
You're good, bro. It happens, man. It's you're fine. Yeah.
So he does a weekly show with her, huh?
Yeah, he's got a weekly show with her, so he's pissed him off. That's why he's left. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. No,
we can continue the show with fantasy stuff too now.
Yeah, a little bit, man. I do have to get back to work, man. It'd be so funny if my boss is watching this whole time. I just walk back into work. He's like, "So you were out voting, huh?"
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome stuff, Easy. Thanks, White Belt. We appreciate you, mate.
Yeah.
My man White Belt's a fantasy fan. He likes the New York Football Giants. Unfortunately for him.
Oh, don't they send you the clip, or you can just take it off of my? You can just take it off of my YouTube, I think.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. I don't want. Yeah, we'll definitely figure something out. I'm gonna talk to Mike about maybe getting you like a speakeasy account, and then you can just hop on the YouTube. Because I don't know, if there's another. I'd have to like screen record it, but the problem with that is like if someone sends me like a text or like a notification, then like what I'm saying, it ruins it. So sometimes it's a pain in the ass to try to do. But
I just announced another interview for this week. Javaris Hayes, former NBA player, former Piston.
Okay,
Yeah.
Detroit basketball. Shouts out to him.
Coming on Thursday. So,
Nathan, man, I appreciate you like tapping in and like being willing to do that here.
Yeah, no problem.
With myself too.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
So what? So you got the basketball player. What's his name?
Javaris Hayes on Thursday.
Javaris Hayes. And then what's going on with Hugh Jackson? Is that
that's tomorrow? That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow. Yeah, that one hype up, man. That guy's if you want to check that one out, my man Nathan's going. He's doing a podcast with Hugh Jackson. If you guys don't know Nathan, he's from the NR Hour, man. He's a fucking grinder, bro. This kid. How many interviews are you at now?
584.
584. If you guys don't know, his show is called. Is that right? The NR Hour Sports Podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
Damn, right there. You guys type that in right on YouTube. I might get going just because I did say my boss might be watching and I just scared myself a little bit. But I do appreciate doing this, and I want to do this again. Obviously, I think Wednesday we're gonna do a fantasy show. I'm gonna shout out to the guys in the group and see what they think. Yeah. Oh fuck yeah, it's tomorrow already. Fuck, my girlfriend's gonna hate me, dog. It is what it is. In the words of Max Holloway. But shouts out to everybody tuned in. Make sure you check out my man Nathan, especially if you like football. White belt, I know you do.
And, check out my Jeff Garcia interview. That's an interesting one, and we talked about. Yes. This interview was supposed to be 15 to 30 minutes yesterday, but it went for 1 hour 11 minutes yesterday. So.
That's lit. Yeah, and I'm definitely about to cut up that clip and get it on the speakeasy too, man. Because he was definitely like talking some fire. But shouts out to everybody listening. Shouts out to Nathan. I'm about to go and hopefully save my job. Right. This shit ain't paying me, man. You motherfuckers watching, guys, subscribe, man. If you want me to stay a little longer, damn. Or buy some merch.
Yeah.
Right, Nathan. I'll see you, brother.
All right.
Deuces.